Hey there. Welcome to today's episode where we dive into Q&A. It's been a little while, so I pulled some questions that I'd recently been asked and compiled some answers, and we're going to get into that today. Let's go. Welcome to Feng Shui Living, the podcast designed for busy women who want to de-stress, live with intention, and create a home that truly supports their well-being. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips, insightful ideas, and simple strategies to enhance both your home and your life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Feng Shui Living. I am your host, Lisa Morton, and we're doing Q&A, as I said in the intro. I always love Q&A at days. I think it's super fun. It's really interesting to see what kind of questions people ask. So I dug in the mailbag and I pulled out 4 questions for today. But before we dive in, I have a big favor to ask. I would so appreciate if you could take a minute, not even a minute, out of your day, 30 seconds out of your day, head to Apple Podcasts and give me an awesome review. If you think I deserve an awesome review, but I would so appreciate that. It supports not just me, but my entire team doing this. So head over to Apple Podcasts, go to the main show page. At the top, you'll see most recent episodes and scroll down to the bottom where you'll see the 5 stars. Hit the 5 stars and give my team a cool review. We would really, really appreciate it. So let's dive into today's Q&A. So we'll start with Laura. Laura, who is a new friend and new listener, submitted this question. What is the best advice for someone having decision paralysis about their home? Now, all my years working in the traditional approach to interior design, I encountered this so many times. And now with my knowledge of the energy of spaces, I have a totally different view, and I have a different answer now than I would have 10 years ago even. So sometimes when we have this analysis paralysis, right? It's because we're overthinking. It's because we can't decide. It's because there's so many options. So step 1 is to limit the options. So maybe you're an interior designer, right? And you love to listen for feng shui tips, or maybe you're a home, you're working on your home doing projects, right? Really limit, because we can have a million options. We can have a million options for countertops. We could have a million options for how we want to arrange the furniture, a million flooring options. Considering all of them does not work. So I suggest narrow it down to 3. Sometimes I'll go into people's homes and they have 7 or 8 different colors up on the wall. Well, after initial view of maybe those 7 or 8, you've probably ruled out a few, right? So get rid of those, return those flooring samples, get those wallpapers sent back, those books sent back that you don't need, and focus on 3. Simplifying makes it easier. And then here's the next thing. This is like the Lisa who's grown a lot and evolved through studying feng shui for years. This is what she would say. Slow down. Sometimes at the end of the day, we get home and we're like, oh, the guy's coming tomorrow to install whatever. We have to make a decision. That is not the time to make an important decision on your home. Schedule time and slow down. Maybe you guys are going to expect this, but I'm going to tell you to go out and get some fresh air. Get grounded. Maybe schedule some time on a Saturday, on a weekend, where you can slow down. You can connect with your body, connect with your breath. So that could be taking 5 rounds of deep breath. That could be going on a walk, maybe in silence, no podcast, no book, audiobook, no music, just in silence. Maybe going to a nearby park and walking through the trees and slowing down, getting connected, getting grounded. And then go. And look at them and consider not only the energetic effects, but how your energy is feeling looking at them. Does it feel stressed out? Does it feel grounded? Does it feel solid? That's more the energy we want to go for. Something grounded, solid, secure, comfortable, makes you smile. If you are feeling anxious, stressed out, nervous, unsure, then that's not the right selection, or it's not the right time for you to be doing this project. Okay. Big projects, the bigger the project, the more stress, the more overwhelm. No matter how much you prepare, things go wrong. Being in this field as long as I have, things go wrong. You get a shipment in of a light fixture and something is broken. You order a faucet and a piece is missing. Things happen and it can be stressful. So be mindful of certain times of the year where you take things on. I know wintertime is not a good time for me to take on projects. Okay, I get too stressed out having things happening in my house during the winter months. So that's my little thing. So Laura, thank you for your question. I hope that answered everything. The next question comes from Jill, and she says, can the feng shui energy of my house change over the years, or is it always set? Well, we go in and we set it, but it's then continuing to evolve and shift and change as your life changes, right? We need to shift and make tweaks going forward. So here's the thing. Maybe you used to have 3 kids, 2 cats, a dog, and you had a busy household, and all those kids are off living on their own, doing their own things, no pets anymore. Your life is very different. So we need to set up things differently to help you go forward with your goals and whatever your plans are. Okay. So our lives they shift. They're constantly fluctuating. Maybe we're going to have an aging parent move in with us. Maybe you're adopting. Maybe you're starting a business out of your home. So many things can shift and change in our life over the years. So it's important to know that from, say, I come in and do an initial assessment, and we do all these tweaks, right? The energy will naturally shift over time. We might have to bring it back into alignment, but then also we might need to intentionally shift energy depending on what you're looking for, what you're going for, what your next steps are. Okay. And how made those big shifts in your life. Also, goals. If you're changing your goals in life, that's also another time to reassess the space. Now, this doesn't mean we have to do a full feng shui assessment. This can be a 1-hour consultation. Okay, last time we did this, and now let's tweak that. We're going to shift this over here and swap those 2 chairs, right? It can be really simple like that. For example, I not too long ago worked with Lauren, who had been in a long-term relationship and considering, the future with her partner and blending families, and then decided this was not the relationship that they wanted, and they decided to part ways. So her goals of blending these families, of, possibly marriage, it shifted to now her goal is to focus on herself, focus on healing, focus on her future. So that's just an example of how your goals affect your space, right? We shifted her space from focusing on family gatherings and events and having that more of a higher energy to more of a quiet time for her, self-care time for her, and really being intentional with caring for herself, especially, a breakup's never easy. So that's just a quick example from that. And then the next question comes from Megan. And I thought this was really fun. It's also kind of a good time of year to be talking about this. Her question is, does food and what we eat connect to feng shui? Very cool. It certainly does. Everything in our environment affects our body one way or the other. So it's either inspiring good feng shui or not so good feng shui. So are you bringing in Hostess cakes and Doritos? Or are you bringing in some broccoli? Now, I know the broccoli isn't the most fun, but it's so good for our body. Honey Crisp apples are my favorite apple. I love to bring apples in, bananas, strawberries, and we're getting to that time of year. Oh, I can't wait for peaches to be ripe and ready. Oh, I'm so excited for peaches this year. Anyway, what we bring in to our space, whether that's furniture, books, accessories, clothing, even the items in our kitchen affect the energy of our space. So you might notice if maybe you went through a phase where you weren't eating so well, filling your pantry with items that aren't so supportive of your healthy eating habits. And maybe you're more a healthy version than you used to be. Does your space feel different? It's interesting to kind of take note. So a couple things I wanted to mention is remember this: healthy food equals a healthy body, which equals a healthy environment, right? When you can really bring in food that makes your body feel good and avoid those foods. I know, I can't eat very much dairy. If I do, my body does not feel good. So I try to avoid that. Okay. Maybe you have allergies that you have to avoid things. Once in a while you cheat, but it just doesn't feel good. So don't bring those things in. Don't be tempted by those things. So healthy food equals a healthy body, and then in turn, a healthy home, right? Because our home feeds off the energy of our body and vice versa. The next thing is tidy and organize your kitchen. We want our food to be organized and clean. Clean up the refrigerator, wipe down the shelves, refresh, and organize things neatly to feel organized in your life and abundant. And next one is show abundance, right? We want to make sure we don't have maybe a box with pasta and there's not even enough for one serving in the bottom. Like figure out something to get creative with. I hate to say just toss it, but we don't want to show lack of abundance. So get a fresh new container of pasta, right? Show abundance, show healthy food in your pantry. And then the last thing is I love, love, love having fresh fruit on the counter. It looks beautiful. It lifts the energy of our space, having these, they're natural, right? They're from the earth. Having them, it's a wood element, having them right on our counter. I love to have a bowl of oranges, bananas, apples, pears, whatever you'd love, grapefruit, lemons, limes, whatever. Have a bowl of fruit on your counter. And it's also really nice because you have a easy snack right there, right at hand. You don't have to prep anything. Give it a wash and dive into your delicious apple. All right, so next is our last question from Susan. This is really good, and I think I might even do an entire episode devoted to Susan's question. I'm an empath and an HSP, or it's a highly sensitive person. How can I make my home feel more calm? Wow, I've been there. I know that feeling where just everything is like flashing at you and trying to grasp your attention, and you're just feeling overwhelmed. Susan, you may feel this all the time. You may feel this sometimes more than others. I know for me, if I can remain really grounded and follow my routines of my yoga, my meditation, my morning walk outside with the dogs, then I do a lot better. So number one is check in with your routine and make sure you're implementing those self-care moments, even if it's for a moment. Sometimes I literally my day will be busy and all I can devote is sitting in the car. When I get to my destination, I'm going to sit and I'm going to take 3 rounds of breath. Try it. Okay. But here are some other things I want you to look at. Number one is clutter. Clutter brings on so many emotions and feelings and can just stir up a lot. So address what you can. If you have a couple things, then organize those. Maybe you just want to take on one or two things of removing some clutter, removing some unneeded items or unloved items. If you have excess clutter, this is really probably causing more struggles than you need to be there, right? Anxiety, we can just have severe anxiety from having too much clutter. So get help. Find a therapist to help you. Get a clutter clearing coach, or maybe you want to hire a clutter clearing company to come in and really help. Okay, so I don't know your situation, but I'm just throwing this out for generally everyone. If you are struggling with clutter and you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, and just really bothered by it, get some help. Also, beyond clutter, and again, it might just be one small intentional thing that's that the piece of furniture in the corner that just like causes some emotions that you need to get rid of. Next up is colors. I want you to be very mindful of the colors and the patterns that you're surrounding yourself with. Look for more soothing, natural, calming colors. Beiges, creams, tans, warm whites, soft blues, soft greens, even a soft pink. And then make sure you're mindful to not bring in too many bright orange, bright red, or fuchsia colors, too much of a fire element. Okay? Think about those more soft, soothing colors. Colors can be really impactful. And if you've listened for a while, I always talk about my own body. I love to have certain colors that I'll wear depending on what I'm doing that day or how I'm feeling. There are certain times in the winter months that I will wear, I'm not a big red person, but I will pull out my one red sweater to throw on because I get the winter blahs. On the flip side, during the season of spring, our body's starting to wake up, just like the earth is starting to wake up. We're moving into a different energy, into the wood element energy. And you might have some days here or there that are feeling maybe a little anxious, maybe a little stressed out. That's when you put on maybe the brown colors, the tan, the chocolate brown colors, the pale blues, right, that are going to help you feel calm and soothed. Next is check for natural fibers, natural materials. Try to avoid those synthetic materials. Having natural materials near your body, whether that's a throw, a piece of furniture, or even a sweater, you're going to feel a lot better. And then here's the other thing I want you to think about is ensure you're doing some sort of energy cleansing ritual in your home. If you're an empath, if you're an HSP, you are just, you're sensitive, you're going to take on a lot. You need to cleanse the energy of your space. And that can be burning some white sage, using the Good Chi space clearing spritz. You can pop over to my website. It's a beautiful little bottle that I make out of moon water, and I Reiki it, recite a mantra. It's a beautiful process, and you can just mist it around your space, right? You can play bells, singing bowls, drums. There are so many different ways to cleanse the energy of your home, but find some way that you can routinely cleanse the energy of your home. I do one really heavy duty space clearing every quarter. If you've never had a space clearing, then head over to my website. I do offer a distance space clearing, which is incredibly powerful. And we reset the energy of your entire home. And it's a really cool process. So go check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes, but have some sort of energy cleansing ritual. Okay. Put it on the calendar if you need. Well, friends, those are my Q&A for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you to Laura. Thank you to Jill, to Megan, and to Susan for submitting your questions. If you have a question, make sure you let me know. You can reach out on social media. You can find me at Pure Living with Lisa Morton or at Elevated Living School, and sign up for my newsletter. Sign up for my newsletter, as those submissions get priority. So you can always respond to me from any weekly newsletter and ask me a question. All right? I will see you all at our next episode. Take care and happy spring. Special thanks to our sponsor, Elevated Living School of Holistic Design and Feng Shui. For more information, head over to the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.